what should we do? How do we get ourselves, our families out of this trap? So it should be a real food focus. So, I'd absolutely support everything that Mark and the team says and the PhD says. So we should, if you've really got a problem with this, you should avoid all sugar, all flour, and all processed foods, and be wary of things like keto baking and trying to sort of mimic ultra-processed foods. Try and eat that sort of clean meat, fish, vegetables, eggs, nuts, that kind of thing. Beware of cheat days, because if you've really got a food addiction problem, for example, you'd never say to an alcoholic, just have a whiskey on a Sunday. It's okay to have a cheat day. We understand that doesn't work where it's an addiction, so don't have a cheat day. Also, be a little bit careful with fasting, particularly in the beginning. Get that sort of steady meal plan, regular, like you're eating every day and you're eating 3 meals a day. Try not to alternate access and restriction. Sweeteners, fine in a transition. Think of it like methadone is to heroin. So get off sugar, onto the sweeteners if that's what you need to do. But eventually try and give up the sweeteners, because they will keep that sweet tooth going. It's not about weight loss really, but about this stable eating and getting these neurotransmitters stable. And because we've been using food as a sort of coping mechanism to make us feel good, we need to find alternatives to that, and that will help you keep this long-term maintenance. So things like stress management, movement. Where's the lady that was doing the amazing dancing? I love that. Give me a little bit of dopamine and serotonin this morning. So good. And other activities and hobbies that are that maybe we've stopped doing. We need to get back into that, because you need to get the brain in a better place. And there's a thing called addiction interaction disorder, and that basically means that where the sugar and the food acts in the brain is exactly where the alcohol, the drugs, the nicotine, the caffeine, and all those things act. It's the same mechanism for all of those substances. So beware. Those of you who've given up smoking may have had this experience where you suddenly get really hungry for sweets, chewing gum, and things like that. And the same with alcohol. A lot of people who give up alcohol put on weight because they end up going for the sugar and the sweets as well. So be aware of that possibility. Some food addicts do struggle a bit with nuts and cheese and dairy, because they've got that fat-carb combo, but that's an individual thing. The main thing is to think, what is it you yourself cannot moderate? I had a real problem with peanut butter. Could not have a jar of peanut butter in the house without eating the whole thing. So I just don't buy it. I haven't bought it for years. And also ongoing peer support and online groups, and anyone who's interested to talk to me about that afterwards. We're actually doing a study. We're recruiting people for groups at this moment under the auspices of the PHC, and so anyone who's interested can come and talk to me. I'm also running a weekend in the lakes in October, an intensive weekend, Heidi and myself, for people who think they might have this food addiction problem. So I did a little study with diabetes.co.uk, looking at some people who have heard of their low carb program. So we just asked people on the Yale food addiction scale. We rated them before they did the low carb program, and 25% of them came out as having a food addiction problem at that point. And then I think it was 12 weeks later at the end of the program, we asked them again, and it was just about 8% of people. They'd gone down to the general population rate. So as you can see, the low carb program looked like quite a good intervention for food addiction. Okay, so people say to me, how do you deal with these cravings? So the main thing is to get onto this real food diet, and it will improve in time, but of course initially the cravings might be quite difficult. Control your environment, because if you'll be cued by smelling these foods, seeing these foods, etc. Try not to have them in the house. If you live with other people, which most of us do, can you have a cupboard that's for you, or a shelf of the fridge that's for you? Trying to control your environment, even if the foods are in the house, they're sort of out of sight. Don't have the biscuits right on the side there. Have them. If someone else wants them, they've got them in their room, or they have to buy them themselves, for example. Control your environment. That will make it a lot easier. planning is really important. Beware of alcohol, because that can really, A, it's disinhibiting, B, it makes you hungrier, even if it's sugar-free. And it can cause you cravings later on. The thing is to anticipate craving. You will have cravings. Even now, sometimes I have cravings for certain foods, but you have to sort of ride them out or try and do something different. Run up and down the stairs, do a bit of dancing, phone a friend. Distraction is important. So I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but the longer you go and the more you think of these things as not food, the easier it does become. As I say, emotional eating is often involved for lots of us. You know, it's often why we started to eat this way, to cope with difficult emotions or times. So it's important to try and develop new ways of managing that, new strategies. Exercise is actually a fantastic way of managing your mental health. Yoga, walking, whatever you enjoy, dancing, just some form of movement. Gives you that dopamine, that endorphin, that serotonin. It gives you all of those things in a really nice way. Connecting with other people that you trust. And also trying to, you know, if there is something that's causing you difficulty, trying to deal with the source of the problem. Hint, it's not in the fridge. You know how that thing where we just go, keep going looking in the fridge? No, it's not in there. If you can, I know life happens, doesn't it? But if you can plan not to be tired, hungry, bored, lonely, angry, that can help. Social situations, if you're going to do this, start at a time when there isn't maybe too much socialising planned, because you do need to learn a new way to negotiate social situations, as many of you have had to go in keto. Maybe eat a bit of something before you go, so you're not starving when you come to look at the buffet. You make better choices. If we go to someone's house, I nearly always take something I know I can eat, like a plate of cold meats or something like that. So I'm not panicking there won't be any food. Choose your restaurants carefully. You can nearly always look at the menu online before you go, decide what you're going to have before you go. Do not deviate from the plan when you get there. And be upfront with people. I've never had anybody, you know, just talk to people, ask the waiter for something different, talk to the person whose house you're going to. I find most people are supportive if you say, you know, you've got a problem, you have a problem with this, and you're really trying to deal with it. Get your daily dose is what I'd say. So all of those hormone, you know, those neurotransmitters that we've been getting from food, try and get them from some other way. So dopamine, serotonin, endorphins you can get from walking and exercise. Oxytocin is closeness, so if you've got a pet you can cuddle, or a grandchild, and you know, the hobbies that you can take up that maybe you've given up in the past. All of this and more is in Fork in the Road, which is the little book that I wrote in lockdown. All profits go to the PHC. You can get it on if you've got Kindle Unlimited, you can get it for free, or you can just buy the paper copy and it'll get sent to you. So what would I say in conclusion? Obviously we need a lot more research in this area, and that's not going to happen until it's recognised as an official diagnosis, as an official sort of medical condition. So if you want to talk to me about that, we're campaigning for that with the Public Health Collaboration and the Food Addiction Institute, which is an American but global institute. Just start with a real food, low carbohydrate approach, and the Keto Fitness Club is absolutely ideal for that. And as I say, there's a lot more information in Fork in the Road if you want more detail and more resources. There are lots of groups online that you can join on Facebook. I won't go through them all now, but if anybody does want to come and talk to me about it, I'm really happy to talk endlessly about this. I do have a Clubhouse, which is a new social media kind of app on your phone. Clubhouse on a Wednesday night at 6 p.m. called Fork in the Road, and you're all welcome to come and listen to that. We have some lovely guests on there. And then just finally, this is one lady that David and I have worked with together. She is a self-confessed food addict. On the left there, Ruth, she's agreed to have all her details shared. She was in a wheelchair at that time, a very unhappy lady. And that's her there on the other side, just about, was it about 18 months, 2 years later. she's done incredibly well. She's lost about 9 stone and she's out of her wheelchair, and that was because she understood finally that she didn't need to eat sugar and carbohydrate, that she had an addictive relationship with them, and she was able to find that food freedom eventually. And there's definitely hope for all of us. If I can do it, any of you can. I was the biggest fan of carbohydrate that ever lived. Was I not, David? Yeah. So that's it from me. Thank you very much.